Miss Furuta Junko, or Junko Furuta. A brief overlay of her case was she was known as the girl found in concrete, or the concrete schoolgirl killing, or whatever it's called. The Japanese media had like the title of like this extremely long name for like literally no reason.
Agreed.
Oh, here it is. It's the concrete encased high school girl murder case. That is literally the name that they had in the news article. Like, why? Japanese media, I'm gonna need you to help me understand why you make the things so super long. So like I said, a basic overlay of the Junko case was she was kidnapped, raped, and tortured and murdered in the late 1980s by 4 of her high school peers. I assume they were peers considering they went to her school. They kidnapped her one day when she was riding her bike. They did this whole scene, having one kid beat her up and then one dude coming to save her life, like, oh my god, you're my hero, thank you for saving me. And they took her to this abandoned alley and raped her in the alley. And then they took her to the main kid's house, which I'm going to get into all the names later when we fully go over the story. And she was held there for 44 days, I think the actual thing was. I think she was kept there for 44 days, and within that time period, she was abused heavily, tortured heavily. All these really, 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 really crappy things happened to her, and she ended up dying from all her wounds, and they put her in a concrete barrel, and they shoved her in a city in Tokyo. Or I think it was Kyoto. I don't remember where it was, but it was in one of those.
I wasn't laughing at you, by the way.
No, I figured you weren't laughing at me. So let's go ahead and jump into the murder case of Junko Furuta. So Junko was a high school student who was abducted, raped, and tortured and murdered in the late 1980s, as I said. Her murder case was that really, really long one that I'm not reading again. Due to her body being discovered in a concrete drum, the abuse was mainly perpetrated by 4 teenage boys, Hiroshi Miyano, Joe Ogura, Shinji Minato, and Yasushi Watanabe. Over a period of 40 days of November 88 to January 89. This crime was believed to be the worst case in juvenile delinquency in post-war Japan. That's what this article says. So we're going to just go briefly into her background. Junko was born in Masato, Saitama Prefecture in, I believe this is in Kyoto. Oh no, it's just in Saitama. So she was born in Saitama Prefecture. She lived with her mom and dad, her older brother, and her younger brother. She attended Yashiro Minami High School and worked part-time at a plastic molding factory during her after-school hours since October of 88. She worked part-time to save up money for her graduation trip that she planned. She was also accepted to a job at an electronics retailer. She planned to working at the electronic retailer after she graduated. At school, she was liked by her classmates, and she had high grades, and she was and she very rarely had absences. Like, she very rarely took them. Like, even when she was sick, she didn't take any days off. She probably made sure she had perfect attendance through school, because I know schools are really, really big on perfect attendance. The perpetrators were 4 teenage boys. Hiroshi Miyano, he was 18. Joe Ogura, he was 17, and Shinji Minato Shinji was 16. So their ages went backwards. I'm sorry. And Yasushi Watanabe, he was also 17, same age as Joe, who were respectively referred to as A, B, C, and D. Nah, screw their
Respect.
actual identities.
Whatever. Sorry.
They don't have... Well, I mean, this is 80s Japan. In court documents. Oh no, I'm sorry. Because they were minors, they were young kids.
Yeah.
They were referred to as A, B, C, and D because they were so young. I mean, except for Hiroshi. Hiroshi was 18 years old. At that point, he's an adult.
Mm-hmm.
So his identity should not have been held a secret, if I am to be fair. I feel like his should have been way out there before everybody else's. Yeah, sure, Joe, Shinji, and Yasushi, I think they should have been kept on the wraps because they were, like, young. But Hiroshi, I felt, should have just been out there, like, identity out there to the world for everybody to see. Anyway, in court documents, at the time of the crime, they used the second floor of Minato's home as a hangout, quote unquote, and had a chimpita? I'm looking this up because I don't know what it is. Chimpita is a low-ranking Japanese yakuza, often quite young, who are thought to be rude. So I got it.
Yeah.
So they're not considered yakuza because they're young, so they're called chimpita.
They're one.
Okay, they're pretty much is what I got out of that. They're low-ranking yakuza. Like, oh yes, you're a yakuza, but here's the baby title we're gonna call you. You're not really a yakuza, but here, take this title.
You could be.
You could be a yakuza, but we're not gonna call you yakuza. Previously engaged in crime including purse snatching, extortion, and rape. I don't like that word, by the way.
I'm assuming you mean the R word.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it.
Yeah, I don't like reading it, but I'm reading it from the document itself, so I guess I have no choice.
I mean, you can make it a different word.
Why? The next one, the clean one would be sexually assaulted her, which is even worse. Miyano, the leader of the crime, had a history of problematic behavior since elementary school, such as shoplifting and damaging school property. He broke pencils. Criminal. No, I'm kidding.
El gospel.
El gospel. He broke pencils. He ran out of pencils. He broke them all. Delinquent child. Could you imagine an elementary school student like snapping pencils in half?
Just, you want this pencil? No.
I snapped it in half. You cannot have it now. The teacher, stop breaking the freaking pencils.
That's my whole paycheck right there.
I'm using it to supply your booties with supplies. Here you go, breaking my... Bruh. I'm so sorry. I have to keep reading. In April 86, he enrolled in a private high school in Tokyo. He dropped out, of course, the following year because he's, too good for school. Know what I'm saying? He's a Yakuza member, too good for school.
Obviously.
After this, he continued to commit several crimes that escalated over time. Yeah, escalated to murder.
Meh.
Oh, wow. There's a lot.
No.
So we're gonna jump right into the crime now. Hold on. How's the house going so far? I'm taking a mouth break.
Shaking your mouth break.
I'm taking a mouth break because I'm talking too much. How's the house going?
It's going.
It's going?
Yeah, I stuttered a little bit there, but it's going.
Oh wow, it is called Bloody Red, ain't it?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Oh no. I'll probably use it. No.
You bought 2 paint gallons?
Yeah, unfortunately.
You're probably gonna use it. There's a
Yeah.
lot left near the house.
I had to buy a ladder.
Because we bought such a big house. We bought a big house to do a lot of interior decorating. I mean, come on now. You should refill the paint roller. Wow, it actually reminds you to refill the paint roller.
Yeah, I guess.
Alright. Back from the mouth break, I guess. We're gonna jump right into the crime, like I previously said. On the 25th of November, 1988, Miyano and Minato wandered around Misato. So a lot of well, wandered around Misato with the intention of robbing and raping local women. Because that's just what every teenager thinks of in their prime is let's go around the town and rape some women. At 8:30 p.m., they spotted Furuta riding her bike home after she had finished her shift at her job. Under Miyano's orders, Minato kicked Furuta's bike and fled the scene. Miyano, under the pretense of witnessing the attack by coincidence, approaches Furuta and offered her to walk her home safely. Furuta accepted the offer and was unaware that Minato was leading her into a nearby warehouse where he revealed his Yakuza connections, which he doesn't have any Yakuza connections because he's a wannabe.
Don't let him know.
He ain't gonna ever find out. And if he does, you a phony, brother. You... エイコかわからないよ. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah. Led her into a warehouse where he revealed his quote unquote Yakuza connections. Where he raped her. Wait. He raped her in the warehouse and again in a nearby hotel, threatening to kill her. So he brought her into the warehouse, assaulted her, and then assaulted her in a nearby hotel, which I assume would be one of the love hotels that they have. I don't think that it was anything fancy because he probably couldn't afford anything because he's a wannabe yakuza and baby yakuza members don't have money. You gotta wait till you get up in the ranks so you can just steal it from other people. From the hotel, Miyano called Minato and his other friends Joe and Yasushi, and bragged to them about the assault. Ogura reportedly asked Miyano to keep her in captivity in order to allow numerous people to sexually assault her. The group had a history of gang assault. I'm not gonna keep saying that word because I hate it. And had recently kidnapped and assaulted another girl whom they later released afterward. And I believe the same girl came in and testified against all of them. I believe. I want to say that actually happened, but I don't really remember if that actually happened or not. Do you?
I don't remember. I think she did, but I don't want to say that she did and she didn't.
Correct. So around 3:30 a.m., Miyano took Furuta to a nearby park where Minato, Ogura, and Watanabe were waiting. They had learned her home address from a notebook in her backpack and told her that they knew where she lived. If you gotta go and search through someone's belongings and you're just that low of a human being, I don't understand. You see, I hate humans. I really do hate human beings for this reason. Um, I forgot where it was. Knew where she lived and that the Yakuza members would kill her family if she attempted to escape. The 4 boys overpowered her, took her to a house in Ayase district in Adachi, and gang assaulted her at the house. The house was owned by the parents of Minato. And soon became their regular gang hideout. This house is exactly where she was also murdered and was kept for 40 days. On the 27th of November, Furuta's parents contacted the police about her disappearance. To discourage further investigations, the kidnappers forced her to call her parents and told them that she had ran away and was safe and staying at a friend's house. So that way they couldn't get in any further trouble. They had her lie to her parents saying like, hey mom, hey dad, yeah, I ran away from home. I wasn't really happy. But don't worry, I'm safe. I'm just at some friend's house, and I'll be staying here for a bit. Don't worry about me. Just make sure you call the investigation off. I'll be fine, I promise. Which we all know was not the safest choice, but she had no other options at that stage of the game to talk, pretty much. So I would have said, keep the investigation going. I'm at so and so's house. I'm gonna die anyway, but just so you know, I'm here.
Yeah, but
That's what I would have said.
I don't think she knew that she was gonna die, you know? Like, I feel like she really did think they might have.
Like a chance to get out.
Yeah. I mean, she could have ran away and stuff like that too, so.
But they would have found her because they apparently know.
Well,
Remember, they're Yakuza.
I don't know. I've never been in the situation, so I don't know.
It's hard to say what you would do if you were in her situation. Like, you don't know what your brain does under extreme stress like that.
Exactly.
They also forced Furuta to stop the police investigation. When Minato's parents were present, Furuta was forced to act as his girlfriend. That way he didn't get yelled at by his parents because, I'm a Yakuza member, but I'm still scared of mommy and daddy. Hoo hoo hoo.
Obviously.
Whatever. He's just a coward.
That door doesn't fit there.
That door's a little small for that doorway. It's a shame. It was a cute door. They dropped this pretense when it became clear that Minato's parents would not report them to the police. Minato stated that they did not intervene because the Minatos, my bad. The Minato stated that they didn't intervene because they were aware of Miyano's Yakuza connections and feared retaliation, and because their own son was increasingly violent towards them. Yet you had him scared and acted like had the girl act as your girlfriend. You know what? I'm not gonna question it. The group held Furuta captive in Minato's residence for 40 days. They repeatedly beaten, assaulted, and tortured her. According to their statements, the 4 shaved her pubic hair, forced her to dance to music while naked, and masturbate in front of them, and left her on the balcony in the middle of the night with little clothing. They inserted objects into her genitalia, including a lit match, a metal rod, and a bottle. Force-fed her large amounts of alcohol, milk, and water. She was also forced to smoke multiple cigarettes at once and inhale paint thinner. In one incident, Miyano repeatedly burned Furuta's legs and arms with lighter fluid. By the end of December, Furuta was severely malnourished after being fed only small amounts of food and eventually only milk. Due to her severe injuries and infected burns, she became unable to go to the downstairs toilet and became confined to the floor of Minato's room in a state of extreme weakness. Furuta's appearance was drastically altered from the brutality of her attacks. Her face was swollen and it was difficult to make out her features. Her body was severely crippled, giving off a rotting smell. This caused the four boys to lose sexual interest in her. As a result, the boys kidnapped and gang assaulted a 19-year-old woman, just like Furuta, was on her way home from work. This was the last day, I believe, of her last day alive at this point. On January the 4th of 89, after losing a game of Mahjong, Mahjong, in case you guys don't know what Mahjong is a tile-based game. Would you have, say it's an equivalent of Chinese checkers, Mahjong?
Yes.
Against another person the night before, Miyano decides to vent his anger toward Furuta. In their anger, they poured lighter fluid on her thighs, arms, face, and stomach and set her on fire once again. Furuta allegedly made attempts to put out the fire, but gradually became unresponsive. They continued to punch her, ignited a candle and dropped hot wax on her face, placed 2 short candles on her eyelids, and forced her to drink her own urine. After she was kicked, she fell onto a stereo until she collapsed into a fit of convulsions. Since she was bleeding profusely and pus was emerging from her infected burns, the 4 boys covered their hands in plastic bags and continued to beat her. Yeah, dropped an exercise ball, they dropped a barbell on her. I don't know why they called it an exercise tool. They could have just said a barbell.
I mean, it is an exercise tool, but
They dropped an exercise tool on her stomach several times. The attacks reportedly lasted 2 hours. Furuta eventually succumbed to her wounds and died. Ko called his brother to tell him that Furuta died, and afraid to be penalized for the murder. So the group of kids wrapped her body in some blankets and shoved her into a travel bag. Then they put her body in a 55 US gallon or 200 liter drum and filled it with concrete. And around 8 p.m., they loaded it and eventually disposed the drum in a cement truck in Tokyo. Jesus, that's a tongue twister. And on the 23rd of January, 89, Miyano and Ogura were arrested for the gang assault of the 19-year-old female, whom they kidnapped in December. And on the 29th of March, 2 police officers came in to interrogate them, as the woman's underwear had been discovered at their address. During the interrogation, however, Miyano believed that one of the officers was aware of his culpability in Furuta's murder. Thinking that Joe had confessed to the crimes about Furuta, he pretty much snitched on himself because
he was paranoid.
He was paranoid that the other dude would snitched on him, so he ratted himself out on the Miyano murder. Jesus, on the Furuta murder because what they were interrogating them about was a separate murder case that happened, and they thought since they gang assaulted this one 19-year-old female, they definitely had something to do with this prior murder. Before they knew about Junko's death at all. So this surprised the police when they heard about it. Where was I? I can't read it. The police were initially puzzled and confusion because, like I said, they had a murder of a different female and her 7-year-old son that occurred days prior to the abduction. So yeah, it was a woman and her son. And that case, sadly, is unsolved. And we will never know any detail on that case because nobody knows what it was because Junko's case kind of took over everything. The police found the drum that contained her body the following day, and she was identified via fingerprint, which I'm surprised that they found any kind of fingerprint considering she got burned. On the 1st of April of 89, Joe was arrested for a separate assault and subsequently rearrested for Furuta's death. The arrest of Watanabe, Minato, and Minato's brother followed. Several other accomplices who participated in Furuta's abuse were officially identifying, including Tetsuo Nakamura and Koichi Ihara. Those were some of the friends of the boys that, gang assaulted her, I believe, in the warehouse, and then, like, afterward when they, assaulted her a few more times before they brought her to Miyano's house. And they were charged after they found the DNA on her body and inside from the assault. So, yeah. So the identities of the boys were sealed because they were all juveniles. But like I said, I believe that Hiroshi's identity should have been revealed a long time ago, considering at the time he was 18 years old, which I believe in every country, the age of when you first become an adult is I believe it's 18 years old. I believe it's everywhere.
And in most cases, it's younger than that.
So I feel that his age should have, his identity should have been revealed long before that. But again, that's just me. I don't know. A journalist in Shukan Boshin, which I'm probably butchering the shiznit out of that. Bunshin.
Sounds good to me.
Oh, I'm so glad you're so supportive.
You're doing great, sweetie.
Thanks. So the journalists of this magazine company discovered their identities and published them. Smart on them. They stated that given the severity of the crime, the accused do not deserve to have the right to anonymity. Oh my god, I can't read. Anonymity? Anonymity? How do you say?
What? Anonymous?
It's not anonymous. It's Nonymity. Anonymity.
I have no idea. But yes, that.
So given the severity of the crime, they felt that they don't have the right to be anonymous, so they literally just exposed the shiznit out of them. All 4 boys pled guilty to committed bodily injury and resulted in death rather than murder. So they thought by saying that they pled guilty to not premeditated. So then they pled guilty to like hurting her so bad that they killed her, but they didn't want to say it was either premeditated murder, first degree, or I guess accidental murder, which is second degree, or non-premeditated murder would be second degree.
Yeah, I think so.
So they went for the non-horrible sounding one. So they were like, bodily injury that caused death. So yeah, we'll plead guilty to that. But we didn't plan on murdering her. Of course, they planned on killing her.
No, they didn't plan on murdering her. They planned on torturing her forever.
Yeah, because someone lasts forever to get tortured every single day. Got it.
Oh yeah.
So at the end of the day, they knew what they were doing, but they didn't want to say what they were going to do. So yeah, bodily injury that caused death. Sure, got it. And in July of 1990, a lower law sentenced Hiroshi Miyano, the alleged leader of the crime, to a 17-year prison sentence. So yeah, they sentenced Miyano to 17 years, but he appealed in the Tokyo High Court by Judge Ryuji Yanase, who sentenced him to an additional 3 years in prison. The 20-year prison sentence is the second longest prison sentence given in Japan before a life imprisonment. He was 18 at the time of the murder. Miyano's mother reportedly paid 50 million yen, which in U.S. currency, that's $425,000 in compensation to Furuta's family. So they gave her $425,000 in compensation because they knew what was happening in the house, but they didn't say nothing because they were scared of their widow baby son.
Stupid.
But this was ordered by the court, so they didn't do it willingly.
Because they're douchebags.
And this was after selling their house. So they sold their house and then gave the Furuta family $425,000. Miyano was denied parole in 2004. And in 2013, January 2013, Miyano was rearrested for fraud due to an insufficient evidence. He was released without charge later that month. So they didn't have enough evidence to keep him in prison, so they released him. That's what that means. Nobuharu Minato, who originally received a 4 to 6 year sentence, was resentenced to 5 to 9 years by Judge Ryuji Yanase upon appeal. He was 16 at the time of the murder, and Minato's parents and brother were not charged for Furuta. Were not charged. I feel like the parents should have been charged, considering they knew what was going on in the house. They just didn't say anything because they were scared of their son. Because I'm so scared of my widow baby boy, I'm not gonna say anything. I know they murdered that girl in there, but I'm not gonna say nothing.
I'm not gonna say nothing.
I'm not gonna say nothing. Come on now. And I feel like the brother should have been charged. At least give him 2 years because he drove them, knowing the body was in that drum. He drove them, helped them bury the body, and then dipped. I feel like he's an accomplice to murder.
Yeah, I agree.
Furuta's parents were in dismay by the sentences received by their daughter's killers, and won a civil suit against the parents of Nobunaru Minato, in whose house the crimes were committed. After his release, Minato moved in with his mother. However, in 2018, Minato was arrested for the attempted murder after beating a 32-year-old man with a metal rod and slashing his throat with a knife. Yasushi Watanabe was originally sentenced to a 3 to 4 year prison sentence, but received an upgraded sentence to 4 to 7. He was 17 at the time of the murder. For his role in the crime, Joe received a 8-year sentence in a juvenile prison before he was released in 2004. He was 17 at the time of the murder. After his release, he took the family name Kamisaku, which was when he was adopted by a supporter of his. He is said to have boasted about his role in the kidnapping, assault, and torture of Furuta. In July of 2004, he was arrested for assaulting Takatoshi Izono, an accomplice he thought his girlfriend may have been involved with. Ogura tracked Izono down, beat him, and shoved him into his truck. Joe drove Izono to Abadachi to his mother's bar in Misato, where he allegedly beat Izono for 4 hours during that time. Ogura repeatedly threatened to kill the man, telling him that he had killed before and he knew how to get away with it. And he was sentenced to 7 years in prison for assaulting Izono and has since been released. So, a man who threatened to murder somebody, served prison, 7 years, got out. For what? Probably quote-unquote good behavior.
Obviously.
Isn't that what they always get released for, was what quote-unquote good behavior? I feel like that's like a trope that like they have, is like they get released on quote-unquote good behavior because, you know, they're such good boys, you know?
Obviously, good boys.
Good boys don't go to prison. Anyway. Yeah, he drove him, threatened to kill him, knew how to get away with it. He was sentenced to 7 years. Ogura's mother allegedly vandalized Furuta's grave, stating that she had ruined her son's life.
Oh,
Which,
yeah,
if
she
you're...
did it. She ruined his life.
Of course. Furuta did it all. Because, you know, if it wasn't for Furuta, he wouldn't have been in jail. He didn't have to do all that. It's also been reported that Ogura had depleted his father's savings money, which was intended to be provided for the restitution of Furuta's family, buying and consuming a number of luxury goods. Many believe in the Japanese judicial system, people watching the news media in general, all said that the sentences for the boys was way too light, and now they're just running around like, you know, chickens with their heads cut off. Free little birds.
Yep.
I'm not gonna go into the aftermath too much, but like they held her funeral on April 2nd of 89. One of her friends' memorial address stated, "Jiu-chan, welcome back. I have never imagined what we would. I would never imagine that we would see you again in this way. You must have been in so much pain, so much suffering. The happy we all had for the school festival looked really good on you. We will never forget you. I have heard that the principal has presented you with a graduation certificate. We graduated together, all of us. Jiu-chan, there is no more pain, no more suffering. Please rest in peace." So sad.
Aww.
So sad. Her future employer, the retail company that she was going to work for after graduation, gave the parents her uniform that she would have wore for the position. And the uniform was placed on her casket at a graduation. Her school principal presented her high school diploma, which was given to the parents. The location near Furuta's body was discovered had been developed since and is now Wakatsu Park. It's a park now? Bro, they built a park on her death site.
That's kind of nice.
Huh. At the time, Japanese people were concerned about a U.S. influence epidemic of violent crime they called the American disease. The American disease, huh? Yes, because the amount of Americans
Rude.
that they get their crimes from is the leading cause of why they commit such horrible crime. Yes, I agree 100%.
Just like those darn video games.
And darn anime, man, such a terrible influence. At least 3 books have been written about the crime. The exploitation film Joshikose Konkori to Sume Satsujin Jiken.
What
I don't
about
know
a
the
chicken?
actual translation. Huh?
What about a chicken?
Not Jiken, not chicken, Jiken.
You ever
It
say the
still
same
sounds like
thing?
chicken. It does sound like chicken, doesn't it? Interesting. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what the exact, the general translation of what it is. Josh Cole said. Okay, this page doesn't exist, so I can't even give you the direct translation because I don't know what it means. Okay. About the incident was directed by Katsuya Matsumura in '95. Yujin Katagawa, later member of the music duo Yozu, played the role of the principal culprit, and Mai Sasaki played the role of Furuta. Oh, I think this is 44 Days. I think this is the movie because there was a movie. There was a movie based on. I think it's called 44 Days. I don't know. That was called Joshikose Konkori to Tsume no Satsujin. That was a lot. The case was also the inspiration for the film Concrete in 2004 and the manga 17 Sai or 17 Sai because 17 is 17. So
Mm-hmm.
fun fact. If you don't know Japanese, 17 is 17. So 17 Sai or 17 Sai is 17 years. So if you ever go to look up the movie Concrete, don't do it. Because if you find the movie, you'll actually find pictures of her, and it's not okay. Here it is.
All done.
Yes. All right, let's see the house.
Alright, so here's the bathroom.
Oh,
Stuck with the red theme because of murder.
murder.
And it's glass, so no one could be murdered in there. For some reason, it won't let me put these together and it annoys the hell out of me, but whatever. Oh, wait. Jupiter? Get off my thing.
So we
So,
got this stove,
we have stove, we have fridge,
frigidator,
and then it's all red and dark.
murder.
And then he doesn't
Ooh,
get a TV at all. He just gets to look at himself.
sounds about right.
They don't get television here. They don't get entertainment. They have empty shelves because screw them. And this is the bedroom.
Ooh.
I'm
Hey
going.
yo,
Yeah, before I sell the house though, I will have to get rid of this because it won't let me sell it with it on there.
that's fine.
But This is the bedroom.
Still looking at himself, I see.
Yep. And
No murder. Oh, do they get the ladder as well?
no, the ladder's mine.
No, that's yours.
That's my ladder.
That's
Oop, going up the ladder. And then the whole house is just this red color.
Ooh, fancy.
It won't let me paint the trimming, unfortunately, but
Fine.
yeah. Oh, yep. There you go. That's our murder house.
House looks great. You know, gotta have the cute white picket fence as well, because it wouldn't be a safe neighborhood without a murderer, without a white picket fence.
Obviously. I mean, look at all these houses around. Look at them. I'm gonna let everyone know this is the murder house.
Or are they gonna call it the murder house?
Murder house. That's what I'm gonna call it
Murder
too.
house.
I wonder if they look.
Imagine someone buys an all red house, be like, I want that one. Me. You want a murder's house?
Before I sell it, I have to figure out where these things are over here, but this is it. I'm not changing anything else. I'm just gonna clean it up a little bit more.
Looks great. I approve of this house very much.
Alright, hopefully it sells for a profit, but you know, we'll let you know in the next episode.
Yes, ma'am.
So, until then, like Nina said beforehand, go check out our Instagram, go check out, well, you don't really have to check it out. Go subscribe to our channel. It's free. You don't have to pay for it. Just hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell if you'd like to see more of what we're doing. And yeah, links to everything will be down below. Our personal Instagrams, our channel Instagram, Resting Days, and everything. So, uh, that's it. Stay spoopy. Bye.